Welcome to the Town Council meeting of Town of Pike Road, the first meeting of the month of April 2026. We'll call the meeting, I didn't mean to slam that. I didn't realize. I call it to order, and I'll ask Councilor Bradshaw, would you open us in prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight and just ask that you provide peace over our meeting tonight, Lord. We just want to do your will in our town, Lord. We just pray for the wisdom that we need to move this town and continue to move this town in the right direction, Lord. We also want to praise you and thank you for all of that you've done for Pike Road and that you continue to lead us through, and for all of our public safety folks and all of our citizens, Lord. We just ask that you guide us tonight and that we make you proud. All these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. If you'll join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're glad to have everybody. Ask our clerk to note that we have a full house tonight, so obviously we have a quorum. Thank you, council members, for being here this beautiful day, and thank you to all of our guests in the audience. Thank you all for attending. We'll move to consideration of the minutes as distributed for March 25th.
Move to adopt as presented.
Have a motion to adopt the minutes that's presented by Councilman Steindorf, second by Councilor Watley. Any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. So ordered. Thank you very much. We have, as normal on these first meetings of the month, the opportunity for our Planning Commission to give us a report. So we'll ask the chairman, Mr. Furman, if he has anything to offer, and then we'll call on Senior Planner, Mr. Rigsby.
Yeah, we met last Monday and didn't have a whole lot on our agenda for that evening. I think we had one item of business which moved through. Remind me of the topics we discussed.
It was
I didn't bring my note.
Moraga Plat number 2, and it was a subdivision to divide 15 acres.
Dividing the 3 lots
from
into
2 lots into 3 lots.
Yeah. And so there's a little bit of property for sale there on Meriwether, and
Right.
so and it passed without issue.
Very good. Mr. Rigsby.
I just want to thank you for having me. I mentioned before about upcoming moving on next steps beyond the comp plan, and that next step for us is regulation updates. We have set a date for the first big step in that. We're already working on that as far as reviewing regulations internally, but with our consultant, we have set a date for May 19th. I don't have the time yet, but we're going to establish that and fine-tune that, but for a public session, like an open house kind of session. And just wanted to bring that up, put that on your radar, and we're going to be working towards publicizing that and working out all those details.
And council members, if you all have any ordinance-related notes that you've taken over the years, or thoughts and things that you want to make sure we have this group review or look into, please make sure you share those with me or with Daryl, and make sure just anything you think about, this is the time to take a look. Now, this group's basically working on planning, so that's the kind of ordinances we're talking about. But if you have anything, now's a great time to throw them on the table. So that's an open-ended request. We can talk about those.
Is that going to be a work session? Is that?
No, it's a public input time where they'll
That's
just
right.
listen to the public, but there'll be a lot of that going forward. So it won't be.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They'll be here. This is just the first introduction to the issues, and then they'll be working and back and forth.
It's
So.
really more like a kickoff kind of meeting. And they'll be working on, like I said, regulations, zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, design standards, those bits of the planning realm of regulatory.
It's not like they come out of here at the end of 2 days with a product.
Right.
They're just, this is the first time they'll be here.
Data gathering, mostly this first run.
Right.
Yes.
But they'll be here, so if anybody wants to meet them or talk to them, you'll have that opportunity. Anything else?
That's all for me right now.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Rigsby? All right, we'll move into old business, and the first item of old business would be the second reading of the ordinance for rezoning the plat, Phase 5 of property there for Boykin Lakes. And Mr. Rigsby, you want to go over that real quick?
Just as a quick refresher, this is Phase 5 of Boykin Lakes is the request. This is 122.64 acres on the south side of the existing Boykin Lakes. And this is AG, agricultural, to R10 residential, which is 10,000 square foot lot minimum. And the applicant has an intent to continue Boykin Lakes as it is the idea here. And the applicant is here. If you have any questions of him, that's Mr. Rice with BSI. I'm
Okay.
happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure he would as well.
I'll just ask one question. Just, I know there was some discussion between the residents and the of Vaughn Crossing and the applicant with some ideas. Is there any update on the status of those requests at this point?
Yes, I'll let Mr. Rice speak to that specifically, but there has been some correspondence we've been involved in and been provided to us that it appears they agree on the path forward. That's my interpretation. I'll let them
Okay.
specify. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Rice, you want to come comment and then just, was there a response to the request is all I'm asking.
Yes, sir. The Vaughn Crossing residents asked for some consideration for the western property line of this request, an 8-foot privacy fence, a 10-foot buffer, and some reduction in lot numbers against that western property line. We have had significant correspondence with the Vaughn Crossing residents. No issues on building them a fence, no issues on providing a buffer. There was some clarification that happened Friday on what that buffer would be in the form of, any mature trees can be saved and we'd be planting in between, or if there are no mature trees, we would be working with the residents to determine what type of species and buffer they'd like to see. But we're committed to providing that buffer and planting it if one is not there today. The only, I believe, differentiation that we had at all was we were not able to reduce the number of intended lots on that western property line as much as they would like. Their concern, very understandably, was number of lots down that property line. The problem that we have is the stub out for this property is located right there. So we're kind of held to how we orient those lots and kind of what geometric shape they have. I kind of met them in the middle from their request. We did reduce a number of lots down through there and committed to getting these lots to a minimum of 20,000 square feet along that western property line. It was a reduction of, I can't remember exactly how many lots, but I explained that, just continuing to widen those lots out really makes them almost, not really feasible, because nobody wants a yard that's 300 feet wide and 150 feet deep. So, but that's where we stand today.
Okay. I think Reverend Blunt, you spoke for the group. Anything you want to add so we get all this kind of everybody up to speed?
Yeah, so
Mr. Rice and I did speak, and basically, we were asking for 30,000 square foot lots, and I kind of understand his reasoning, and I understand where their stub out is there, but we've had some email correspondence between us, the two of us, and basically, I guess we were asking for 6 lots on that western border of Boykin Lakes, and they were originally, I guess, with the R10, it looked like 11 lots could fit on there, and I think their proposal that they sent back with us, they sent us a little plat, and it has 8 lots on there. So, they are meeting us in the middle. Blake Rice also, said that he would do the buffer, do the fence, plus add whatever plantings, trees that would work and would be feasible. So I have copies of our correspondence if y'all would like those. Yeah, would y'all like those?
Sure, if you've got them already.
No, I think you're
sure.
good. I just want to make sure everybody was up to speed. Okay, council, is any action you would like to take?
At this point, you don't have issues. You as a representative of the neighborhood don't have. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how y'all did this.
So
Yeah, let's hang on a minute,
Okay.
Rob. We don't have an actionable item yet. We need a motion before we can have discussion.
I have a motion that we deny this request.
Okay, there's a motion to deny the request
Second.
by Council A. Bratcher, a second by Council A. Watley. Okay, now we can discuss the motion to deny.
Yeah, so Rob, I'd love to explain this, and then, because first, as I sit here and listen to first I want to compliment Mr. Rice. An absolute phenomenal conversation and dialogue back and forth is absolutely what should happen at the platting time. What's in front of us today is the zoning change. So my decision is not at all reflective of, because honestly, this is one of the best examples that I have seen. I feel like, council, we have an opportunity in front of us, and typically when things are in front of us, a lot of times it's already moving. This is a piece of land that's not even in the town of Pike Road. This is a piece of land that is not even zoned for this, right? Because it's not in the town of Pike Road, so we'd have to annex it. So for the first time, I feel like, as we've talked about the M word, that we're not interested in moratoriums, and as we talk about the growth, for me, this isn't a reflection of the developer or, although it was beautiful, the dialogue. To me, it's about this being finally an opportunity where we can actually slow down. And I feel like that we have so much real estate out there right now, and developers of land that's already been approved and platted. I hear on the weekly from citizens, slow down. We talk, I go to the fire department meetings and I look at the capacity that they have, and we look at the public safety. We're meeting all of the needs, but as we talk about smart growth, I just think it's about timing for me, and it's approving a whole nother plat. And one of the things as we talk about going forward in the ordinances, and I want to talk more about that because these guys have put in a lot of work, things that are typically happening at the plat level. This was just a zoning request that they just gone down a whole mile that they didn't, in advance, which is nice, but I also think that's all kind of changes the tone sometimes when it's in front of us, when what's in front of us is a zoning request for a piece of property from an applicant that is partnering with the landowner, but he doesn't own it yet. It's rare that we have a situation where we can say, guys, you know what, let's get the infrastructure maybe a little bit better. I'm not a no, and I think that Blake does one of the best jobs. I think their product out there is amazing. I have no qualms with that. I'm just asking this town, to the council, to consider some of the feedback that we've gotten over the last couple of years about the growth and the pace. So for me, that's why my answer was, or I put that motion out there. I totally respect if we don't have a majority, but for me, that's what it's about, not necessarily about what you guys have done beautifully, because that is really ideal, and thank you for your interest and your efforts. And but I want us to slow down and catch up before we continue to put houses out there, as we have to serve them with all of our services. So for me, that's where I'm at. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. There is room for discussion.
Well, I think that Mr. Rice has been very transparent. He's worked with everybody, and I think that everything has been on the forefront. It's a situation where it's going to happen anyway at some time. And if you've got somebody that's trying to do things the right way and is keeping everybody involved, do we want to keep delaying and run the good guy off and somebody else come in and just try to do something that nobody agrees to? So, it's both sides. I live in Woodland Creek, so this is not backing up to me. But at the end of the day, the town is growing, and it's going to keep on growing because we got a good thing going out here. So if we got somebody that's willing to keep this good thing going the right way, even though it may not look the way we want it to look, but how can we penalize him for what other entities have not done on their timeline? So we penalize him because of other things that's attached to that area, but he doesn't control those other things that's attached to that area. So with that being said, just keep that in mind when you're thinking about what's going on right now.
Yeah, respectfully, I don't feel like I'm penalizing anybody. He doesn't own the land. The developer doesn't own the land. And when you say someone's going to come, and they might, but they still have to come back in front of this body and provide this level of work. And so I totally respect the fact that you're comfortable with it. If you feel like services can keep up in our town, the feedback I'm getting from the citizens is smart growth. I've asked people for us to implement a moratorium, which I don't think that's feasible right now. So for me, it's about having an opportunity for once about not rezoning land that's not even in the town of Pike Road. So because you realize if you rezone it in the police jurisdiction, then it has to annex in, and we're creating. So for me, but I respect what you're saying. I just wanted to clear the record that I'm not trying to penalize anybody. I'm trying to respect smart growth, and that's where I think we've had a gap. And this is one time finally through the Planning Commission. It was beautifully came as a recommendation because it's appropriate. But it's the discretion here. So, but I respect what you're saying.
Yes. And in that same breath, though, that's private land that's being sold. So are we going to get into telling people who and why they can sell their land if they're
They can sell it, do they want to sell it to?
exactly
It's
so
not in our town. It's none of our business.
so they're trying to sell it to him under the right situation. So you just got to keep all that stuff in
I
mind.
mean, whoever owns it's got to come to us. So it's the next
Exactly.
person.
So it's still got to come up too.
Totally.
Any other comments?
Well, for me, when we're looking at conditional use or zoning, I look at two things. First of all, does it fit? Does it fit the town? Does it fit the direction? Does it fit the comprehensive plan? And comprehensive plan, if I understand, this shows this is residential, so and it fits. So number two, what do the people around the development say? That to me carries a lot of weight. And so that's why I asked the question, if the people that you represent are all in favor of this, because to me that's what I'm here. That's what I want to hear. And if you guys,
Because I've gotten the calls.
okay,
Hang on. I'll be glad to recognize you.
because I carry a lot of weight on what's around the development. And first of all, it fits the comprehensive plan, so it fits our plan as a town. But I want to know how it fits the people that live around it. That has a lot to do with me.
If one of y'all would like to speak, yes, sir.
Well, first of all, appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm Dave Ludford. I'm over on Vaughn Crossing. I'm the HOA president over there. And as I was talking to Councilman Robinson earlier, I believe Ms. Bradshaw and Ms. Swatley are well aware of our thoughts in the process. And the thing that concerns me is obviously we spent our life savings to put down on this house, to move out of Vaughn Crossing, to get that rural feel, to have the cows on one side and the farm on the other. And last year, well, not last year, I guess it's been about 2 years now, for Kinsley, we lost that battle for the other side of the street already. So now we're getting pinned in from the other side. And there's no problem with Stone Martin, no problem with any of the builders or Blake or any of those guys. They're good people. They make a good product, to your point. However, we chose to put our resources and to bring our kids out there for that exact reason, was to have that space, to have that rural feel, and then to have it continue to encroach and continue to encroach is very painful. So my personal first feeling, I'm not going to speak for the other residents. I'll give them an opportunity to speak too. My personal feeling is I'd way prefer that it not expand down that way. That is my number one. Close behind us, the number two, after the Kinsley discussions and the way that got pushed through and the way that happened, is that we better hedge our bets and start having these conversations early, because we don't feel like we have a say. And so that's my personal feeling. I'm not going to speak for the other residents, but the emails that we've had back and forth are a very similar tone, because we want to get out in front of it if we can't stop it. And again, nothing against Blake or any of his team, nothing against the developer, but when we go from having cows on one side, farmland on the other, every day I pull in, my view is now going to be hundreds of houses rather than this beautiful open land that we moved to Pike Road for. And we put our life savings into that house. So I just ask that you consider that when you're looking at that. And I love Pike Road. I love the growth. That's why we moved here, was because we wanted to see that progressive, planned, slow growth. And this is our second time here. We were here in the late 90s, early 2000s with military, chose to come back here and retire. And so we're very proud of the area and everything that you guys have accomplished over the past few years. But at the same time, the reason we came here is slowly being eroded because things continue to come on our backside. So that's my personal feeling on it. I'll let everybody else speak for themselves. But to Ms. Bradsher's point, that's why we're having plat-like discussions, because we don't want to get absolutely bulldozed when the time comes. So that's my thought. I don't know if I have any questions or I'll just get out of the way, but so.
Thank you.
Anyway, sir.
Other comments, council?
Yeah, I would like to really thank the residents and Blake for putting together really good plans and working together. My concern kind of goes beyond even y'all's neighborhood. It's the whole area, that intersection where, you know, I witness it every day. We need those turn lanes. I know they're coming. We need that area flowing better before we put in how many more houses are going in, you know, I mean, it's not a bad product, but for today, right now, I want to see the infrastructure, the turn lanes, the roads in place first before we do that. And the same, you know, the road that, and I guess I need this explained better, but the road that's supposed to go out through Vaughn Road, is that going to be a sure thing?
Which road? The Morrow
Right.
Road turn in, is that what you're?
No. So if these houses go in,
Oh, you mean the road from Boykin Lakes to Vaughn Road?
correct. I mean, is that a sure thing? Is that, you know, is that for sure going to happen? Because I would really want that in place as well before the houses go. Like, I just feel like these things need to be in place first before we get the houses there. I mean, people are already telling me how unhappy they are with the traffic there. I mean, I see it, I live it. It's real, and I know the turn lanes will help, but I want to get that rolling first and see how it's working first before we dump more fuel into the fire. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not a never, I'm not a no growth, it's just not right this second. And that's where I am on it.
Well,
Mr. Rice, hang on just, there was a question. Mr. Rice, do you want to respond about the road through? That was a question was asked.
I would. To answer the question of the stub out, so that's really on the city's part, and really on the city's future development plans. The way that this works is a road is stubbed out. It's public right of way. The property to the south is not being requested for development. At some point, it will develop as well. And it's incumbent on everyone involved. With that stub out there, the city most certainly can require public connectivity between Vaughn Road and that stub out. That's how it happens in every community. A development stops somewhere, and the development regulations will require that road be continued with whatever happens on that southern side. So
Does that force that landowner, they have to?
yes, yeah, they would have to. I mean, there's really no way around that.
Is that usually done after the houses are done, or go ahead and get that in place? You know, you can use it as an in and out for construction.
I mean,
and everything else.
it's just a function of where the development stops. You know, in the same methodology, the project, if it moves forward, it will currently meet fire code. There are multiple access points onto Marler Road. There's an additional access point that is gated into Waterscapes. There are 2 access points out of the existing Boykin Lakes into the proposed rezoned area before you today. So everything about this is being done the way a development moves forward, as Boykin Lakes has been doing for 12 years. And that's, you're planning for the future at every phase. So yes, the road can be forced at that point. It's just not part of this development today. So that is the answer to that question. To Councilman Bradshaw, I would like to respond to one thing that you said. And while I do understand your stance and your take, you said something that it's out of the town. It's not our business. Well, but the town of Pike Road some years ago saw it, took it upon themselves to go outside the town limits and zone property. That is not typical. That is something the town decided to do outside of their own municipal limits, and they needed legislative action to get that done. That is not typical. It's in the planning jurisdiction. So the property is zoned today because the town took that stance, which I thought was a great idea. But what I don't understand is how could this project be penalized for not being in the town limits?
That's very fair.
Since
Very fair. So my interpretation of the police jurisdiction, which there's only 2 counties in the state of Alabama, it's us and the city of Montgomery. I was very at ease with that then, and I'm very not at ease. My interpretation through all that, and as I've gained more understanding, is the purpose of that was that we could, for a control zoning purpose in the police jurisdiction, not to use that as an opportunity to expand the town, but more importantly, to use that as an opportunity to kind of somewhat partner with what's going on around us that touches our town. Not necessarily to use that in the police jurisdiction to continue to expand. So I totally think that that's very valid in your response, and I understand why you think that. But my interpretation is that that's more so we can kind of have some say-so of what's touching our town, but not necessarily using that as a vehicle to expand our town and that sort of thing. But I can see why that's unique, and you're right, it is zoning. The second piece of that in this particular situation is, and I understand why you or no one else, in a contingent contract, I'm assuming, but you being the applicant don't own the land, right? So rarely is that in front of us. A lot of times it's a situation where it's kind of the ball, in my opinion, I felt like it's rolling, and now that I've got a grip on it, I'm for the smart growth, and I'm kind of more like Councilman Watley. I'm not no forever, but then I do hear about the people who came and bought. At what point do we leave some agricultural land agricultural? I don't know. I mean, that's a question that we have an ever-moving a situation. And I have sympathy for developers because we have a comprehensive plan that's changed, and we've made variations to that. So we have to do better. Like, I hear you on that. But for me, that's my interpretation of the police jurisdiction. And, a lot of people in the police jurisdiction think that they have representation without, or taxation without representation is kind of a term. That's not necessarily what I think. So I have sympathy for the people in the police jurisdiction that maybe aren't like this particular landowner that you're working with that don't want us to do, have say-so in their land. So it's a situation, and I hear you, but I just want you to know that's my interpretation of the PJ.
If I may, I would respectfully disagree.
Sure.
The
Sure.
state of Alabama state code allows for 3-mile planning jurisdiction to every municipality. That is available to every municipality. I work with it all day, every day across the entire state. So everybody has the opportunity to control what happens in the planning jurisdiction up to a 3-mile radius from their city limits, municipal limits. The town of Pike Road saw that differently. The town of Pike Road went through a legislative process to actually zone that property per the town of Pike Road zoning ordinance. Now, had that been done and available when I started Boykin Lakes 12, 13 years ago, whatever that was, it would already be part of the master plan and be part of that. That has happened since then, so I did not have the opportunity to do that. So I have 12 and 13 and 14 years of planning and moving towards a master plan that this has always been a part of. The town did zone this property outside of its municipal limits. when a planning jurisdiction was already available to them. So in that situation, yes, I do think the town already took action on this property more than any other municipality would have done. So,
And they zoned it agricultural. And it's zoned agricultural.
yes, ma'am.
Right, which.
And now the
and-
town has placed a comprehensive plan in place in front of the council that this council approved. And this project, the request is in accordance with the,
Yeah, listen, I get your point, and our process, I've told the mayor's not perfect, and I have a lot of citizens that I have to represent, and I have sympathy for you. But at the end of the day, I'm here to, this is a discretion call for us, for me, as it's been presented to me. But you hear a lot about just, I hear a lot about slow growth, and that's just, this is the time I see it. But
And I
I
would
also
like-
can live with the fact that, I might not have the majority, and I'm okay with that too.
I would like to respond to the other portion of this. I keep hearing mentioned that we don't own the property yet. 90% of the subdivisions that come through here have a contract to purchase the property, just as we do.
Sure.
Developers don't purchase property until it's entitled. So almost every development that y'all see in front of you, the developer doesn't own the property.
They don't. I understand
So
that.
this one's not different than the rest.
But sometimes they're not. They're already in the town of Pike Road. And sometimes they're not.
Sure, but
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything to do with us owning the property.
Well, I'm just saying that to me, it's, okay, yeah, respectfully. It's, I can argue all day long, it's a discretion call, and I choose to respond to the citizens that have asked me to
Sure.
slow down, and I see this as an opportunity, and I apologize that it's not fun for me either, because if our process was perfect, we probably wouldn't be in this situation, but I can only,
What is your timeline with this?
That was going to be my next question.
Sure.
What is the timeline with the houses?
Boykin Lakes goes through 40-ish lots a year, something like that. Been doing it all this time. We just finished construction on the last 32 lots, somewhere 30-ish lots in Boykin 4C. That's the very last phase that's available. Boykin Lakes is completely constructed as it stands today. There's a handful of lots in phases 4A and 4B, maybe 14 or 15 lots left, plus these additional 30 to 35 that are coming on. So we have a year to a year and a half of inventory in front of us. Timeline would be to follow a pretty standard development timeline from this point forward. If this was to be approved, we would start the surveying process. We would start the boundary topo work. We would then come back before Planning Commission with a preliminary plat and work out some of the finer details. And it's kind of it's really when the conversations that Vaughn Crossing and I have been having, that's really usually when that happens. And I'm going to have the same answer then that I have today. Then we would probably, once we had that done, we would start engineering design. It's probably not feasible that we would break ground if this was to move forward in 2026. It would probably break ground, probably going to wait for the weather to break, March of next year, break ground. You have on that phase, you're probably going to have a 8 to 9 month timeline for construction before I can get it final platted. So if this was to move forward, you're probably talking 20 to 22 months before you go vertical on a house. We're under the gun a little bit. Like I said, we've got a year and a half or so worth of inventory left. So I'm going to be moving, as quickly as I can. But that's really the development timeline. It would take 20 to 22 months before a house was started construction.
Other questions?
So if it's going to be almost, 2 years for a house to be constructed, what is the timeline on the other stuff that's around it dealing with the traffic flows and all that stuff? What's the timeline on that? Would that be
The
somewhere?
traffic flows, the only ones I can speak to would be the work that we are communicating with the Department of Transportation, for which is that work is in design phase right now.
Just in design.
Should be tentatively, they'd let that project end of summer, early fall, but that's a lot of bureaucracy, so I don't know the answer to that, but that would be, the only thing I could comment on would be that project, because that's the only one we're personally involved in.
Okay. All right.
Any other comments? We have a motion and a second.
How many houses, final number, in that area?
I think it was 230-ish. 233. No, we would have some attrition out of that. You're probably talking about 220, something like that. It's 5 to 6 to 7 years worth of inventory for us. And we would build it as we've done in Boykin Lakes. We typically build about 50 lots at a time, and it's a phased approach. We construct lots, build houses, and when you're about halfway done with the home construction on the previous plat, I start working on the next plat, and we break ground on it, and it's just kind of a methodical, continuous process.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other comments, council members? So we have a motion and a second. Typically, we don't do a roll call. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I'm kind of in agreement about the property. If this is kind of getting ahead of what I think is probably going to happen eventually, Blake and I have, kind of come to terms with that. But I love my Sunrise, and I'll never see it again. So that's right. That's where I am. So if it didn't happen, I'd be thrilled. But if it does happen, I hope this goes. I hope we can make it work between the two parties. Thank you.
Yes, come on. No, that's okay.
Didn't expect to speak, but I just wanted to address Mr. Robinson. He said it's going to happen anyway. I live on Vaughn Crossing. I'm terrified when my wife pulls out of there during the day, and in the rush hour. And I've already seen a helicopter land at the end of my road. We've had trucks in ponds. I think we all can agree, it's undisputed, we don't have the infrastructure right now. We're about 5 to 10 years behind at least. You said it's going to happen anyway, but that's kind of governing by, let's cross our fingers and hope nothing happens. Let's get the infrastructure first, and then we can grow. Right now, we are not prepared to grow. We don't even know what the issues are going to be. Let's pull back. Don't use the cross our fingers method. Grow, and then invite everybody out.
So what was your name?
My name's Rick Howard.
She just wanted to get it on the record. Well, Mr. Howard, I appreciate your speaking.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your comments.
I would respectfully say that infrastructure is a broad term with a lot of different components. Certainly, we do everything we can do here to make sure our infrastructure
And with that
is
being
the
said,
best case it can be. So, go ahead, sir.
With that being said, I live in Woodland Creek. One way in, one way out. And there's a creek and one bridge. And we had to, you know what we had to do to get that. If we have a flood right now, a hard rain, we're stuck. But I trust that, we are going to do the best we can for all of our, citizens, and it's going to happen. Yeah, like I said, but it's not a situation where it's being taken lightly. And what I'm saying is, if it's going to happen, I trust the people who are running it right now. And that's where that statement came from. But everything that you are concerned about, I've lived it. I've lived it. When I first moved out there, it kept going from one thing to another, and I wasn't involved in the process as much as I am right now. But, we used to have a cut through that we can go from Woodland Creek to Penn Road and get out. We used to have a cut through that you can go where Abington is right now. And at one point, we didn't think that it was going to go all the way back there until it did, So as stuff kept progressing, and the light came, and we dealt with the council at that time. It got a little better, and we're still having growing pains, but we cannot lose fact that we have a town that people actually want to come to instead of run from. And sometimes it feels like we lose that in the process of growing. It's going to be growing pains, but we're growing for the right reasons. We got a good thing going out here. And where that plot is right by the elementary school. So it's new families coming out trying to build something beautiful in our town, close enough to the school to where the kids are right there. It's not going to be people like me with 14, 19, 24, and 29-year-olds. These are going to be people with, babies trying to get a future started. So, all I'm saying is keep that in mind. The reason why you're out here is the same reason that other people want to come out here. And, and respectfully, I just want you to keep that in mind. And don't think that I'm trying to downplay anything that anybody's saying, but I'm just looking at the big picture because I love this town. And there's a lot of people that on the outside looking in, they love this town too. And they're just trying to find the best way they can to break into this town, the best way they can. So I'm trying to embrace them all with open arms. And if we can meet in the middle somewhere with all that, I think it'll be amazing and a great thing.
Well, and again, like, in listening to what you're saying, this is for me, a not never, it's just pump the brakes just a second. Because I understand exactly, what you're saying and doing that. I mean, that's absolutely, the American dream, beautiful place. Everybody wants to move in on that, but it's a timing thing.
So if the motion on the floor is to deny the request, correct?
If you want to deny it, you will vote yes. If you want to not deny it, you would vote no.
So
or
if,
at least
if,
at this point, you don't accept that motion. You would
if
vote no.
if the motion to deny the request passes, okay, it can be brought back up at another day.
Make sure I would not give up anytime.
Okay.
There's no restriction, right, Chairman?
That's correct. It's not there's no timetable that you'd have to be put off for a certain period of time. This is not a plat approval. This is a zoning request, and those things can come forth. And I appreciate all the dialogue. I was telling Council Lady Bradshaw after our last meeting, the constructive dialogue that has been put forth on this issue has really been refreshing to me. There's been other things we've discussed in the period of time that I have served that hasn't been as constructive of a dialogue. I appreciate you guys from Vaughn Crossing coming in a very constructive manner to say this is my thoughts, my feelings, opinions of our neighbors, and can we reach an accord in here that can satisfy our needs and the timing of these things. I think that's kind of where we are today. To Council Lady Watley's point, for everything there is a season, and even though our new comprehensive plan does spell out that this area is perfectly suitable for the types of residential as we are discussing, it does not mandate a time for that. It doesn't say it must be done this year or next year, whatever. It just says this is an area that makes sense for homes. That's what it's saying. It doesn't lock us into any sort of time frame in regard to that, and that's our duty and obligation as a council to determine what's best for the growth and the wisdom of how our town moves forward. That's why we are where we are. I think it's one of these situations that is complicated, and it's not. There's no. Everybody can't win in these sorts of situations. It's just a situation where we just have to do what's best for the growth of our town, and I think that's where we're at this point in time. And there is a lot of, unknown with this area what they were talking about in the short term, and that's just where we're at in this particular spot. But I really appreciate the manner in which this dialogue and this conversation has been conducted. It's refreshing to me, so I appreciate you guys.
Okay, I think everybody's had a chance to comment. All in favor of the motion to deny, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Request is denied. All right, we will move forward to the next item on the agenda. Thank you all for the dialogue. The next item would be moving to new business, which would be a typical resolution for streetlights. We do these in Pike Road regularly. Y'all know how this works. It's a partnership agreement. Streetlights are shared responsibility. Kinsley is asking for this resolution to be approved. Is there a motion? Motion approved by Councilor Bradshaw, second by Councilman Furman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. So ordered. Same thing for the next request. It's just another streetlight resolution where we work together with the neighborhood. Same exact conditions. Nothing different except the name of the location.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Steindorf, second by Councilman Robinson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. So ordered. Final item would be, next item would be we have good news in that we are able to take another step forward in one of our onward projects, which is the trail expansion. This is the particular leg that connects the tennis courts to the other amenities over there at the Rolling Hills Park area. It's came in under bid, and pleased with that, absolutely. It is up for consideration by the council for you to accept the bid request. Package, resolutions in your package. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept the resolution.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Furman, second by Councilman Robinson to accept the bid award as presented. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. So ordered. Next item would be the another bid award, which came in right near, very close to the estimated cost. This would be the bid award for the Pike Road Volunteer Fire Department Training Facility. That resolution also is in your packet for you all to review. I think it's been dispersed, given out to everybody. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilman Steindorf, second by Councilor Watley. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. So ordered. Finally, it's an ordinance, so this is the first reading, correct, Mr. Clerk? First reading of a small cell ordinance. This is the state of Alabama approved for municipalities to have the opportunity to put in basically transmitter towers, for lack of a better word, transmitters for cell service to get it into better locations. And our ordinance just allows us to move forward and do that. Our planning department, along with our clerk, will be working with all the providers to make sure we have the proper agreements and proper installations. So it's this, all this does in this ordinance is authorize us to participate.
I have one clarity question. I know the answer, I think, but I got a call today, and I thought it was interesting. A resident, I think, interpreted this as a data center. This is not a data center. This is a small cell tower to help bring better service to our citizens. It is not
Right.
an antenna. It is
just
not a data. So, data centers are all in the news and all over Alabama, and you've seen a whole lot. So I think I just want to, on the record, this is not a data center.
No, this is simply a transmitter process that allows you to get the signal into locations
Right.
where they need a stronger signal. Totally different.
So with that, I'm
Well,
Oh, it's an ordinance.
it's an ordinance. You'd have to suspend with the rules. First reading, though, first reading on this. All right, so there is no action required unless somebody wants to suspend with the rules, and I haven't heard that tonight, so we're good there. Other business? Hearing none, is there a motion? Motion adjourned by Councilman Bradshaw, second by Councilman Furman to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Meeting's adjourned. Public comment. Any individuals like to share? Thank you very much. I thought I'm always ready to get out the door. Perry Mason was on his way to the courthouse.
I've got a question. So I'm the pastor at Woodland Methodist Church. I know the school will be opening soon. Are there any plans for that intersection? Because I'm worried about our children on the way to school.
There are ongoing narratives meeting every quarter with the Alabama Department of Transportation. ALDOT is in charge of Highway 110. Highway 110 is under constant review. There's a plan to take 110, four-lane it from all the way from Chantilly all the way to the outer loop. There's also an extended plan to work on it all the way down to Marla Road and then ultimately to the county line. Those plans, though, honestly, Pastor, are in a holding pattern because of resources. They've not allocated the resources to that project just based on simply traffic count. As many people don't understand, infrastructure, as I was saying earlier, is a big term, a lot of different variables. And then when it comes to highway infrastructure, which is one of those variables, it requires a partnership. We are in constant reminder mode about that, about the curve, and trying to make sure there's an awareness of the need there. We have successfully elevated projects in the past above what they are now, and certainly that'll be our goal. But as of right now, an honest answer is there's no immediate work being done on that intersection.
Now, there is a immediate focus group on what to do at these congested areas during school hours in the interim. And so I've worked with the mayor recently. We are working to try to find a solution that's viable, that's safe for cross guard. I'm not suggesting that's what it's going to be, or an off-duty police officer, or we are working on the plan on the GW campus now, and we might expand that during that time if we need that, but we're trying to figure out those areas that need additional help. But you obviously can't just put somebody out there in the middle of that area. So there might be some discussion that we can have, though, as we are having it for the GW campus now, that could extend. Do you think, Mayor?
I think not only that, but yes, absolutely. That's one option.
We realize and recognize that these areas, and we have seen some opportunities at GW, which is, we thought we had a solution last week, but then we didn't. And so, in fact, I just actually brought the retired colonel in to help explore an opportunity at these congested areas to be sure that our children and all the citizens that are crossing these areas right now, until we get the infrastructure in,
so
we're thinking through that.
And I just want to make sure everybody in this room hears this, because I think it's really important. There are lots of different definitions of terms, and oftentimes we use terms in a way that can be misleading to those who don't hear the full explanation, and it's not an intentional misleading. Council Lady is exactly right. There are multiple ways to approach improving narratives, and one of those is to try to direct the traffic. Another is to try to find ways to divert the traffic. And I know we're working with the school in an eastbound location for in and out and a westbound location for in and out to eliminate some of the traffic on that road. A fourth area of engagement, whether or not, because again, infrastructure, the term infrastructure, which is often used, people say, well, sewer, water, fire, policing, that's all part of infrastructure. We have no limits on our sewer, water, fire. We're working with the chief, and great work with Colonel on that, and our sheriff's department. So we're addressing all of those issues. On the particulars of the highway-related component, the fourth component is the outer loop, and there's work being done right now on that. The ultimate thing to remember is a lot of the cars that are causing the traffic issue on Wallahatchie are not local residents, and if we can divert some of that. So your town, all of us, our team, is working very, very aggressively on all four of those. So we're not resting on one option to address that. We know the traffic's what it is on 110. We understand that. If we can fix some of the turns on Marler to 110, that will help. if we fix some, if we make some progress with the outer loop, no matter when that is, that will help. If we can address the school traffic, that will help. So while we would all love to have a magic formula for fixing it immediately, we're looking at it on every angle to try to help you.
And the great thing about
And not weaken your church property or anybody else's values either. It's part of what we're trying to do.
the great thing about that campus, obviously now with GW, we have 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. So when we get the high school campus open, that's going to be 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. So we'll be able to disperse our kids into more pods around our town instead of, 6 grades pouring out of one campus at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And plus this one having 2 directions to go, which would be great. So that coupled with some of these maybe interim sort of solutions, I think we can have some
Yeah,
viable
and I don't
things to
wanna-
really
I
make
don't-
things work
And it won't
well.
be any drivers, only in high school drivers over there, right? Because everybody moved to high school, so
That's correct.
yeah, so it'll just be,
Yeah.
parent carpooling and buses.
Well-
So it won't be kids jumping in and out, so.
Well, mine'll be jumping in and out, because that'd be their route.
Well,
Right by your church.
I'm talking about GW.
Oh,
I'm talking about
yeah, yeah,
GW,
We have-
yes.
But mine'll be coming right down around that curve, and I get nervous now. I tell mine to go all the way down. I say, you just keep on going and then come back up. Now,
it's just an unfortunate thing. Please don't label what we're doing. Please don't label what we're doing as guesswork, because we're not. We're working very hard with great people, giving it every person up here, and our professionals and those in our partner groups are working very hard to not just have one possible way of addressing issues, but have multiple ways of addressing issues. Oops. Thank you for the question. Any other public comment? Have a great week, guys.